And we are back. And before we get started with our guest, just a little note here. Puriflix has announced a launch date finally. So they are going to be launching March 26th.
21st.
Oh, you said 26th.
I said 21st. You weren't listening very well.
No, I wrote it down the way you told me. It's you said
Just keep
okay.
going. 25th.
Sorry. So they are going to be launching on March 21st. And we're going to be on there, and there's going to be a lot of other people on there. So anybody that's interested, feel free to go check them out. So we are here this evening with John Project Wolf.
What's going on, everybody?
At least that's the way he's got his name. He is the founder of Project Wolf Paranormal, and that was back in 2007. And he looks like he's from Waterford, Connecticut. How you doing tonight, John?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad.
That's good. That's good. So I guess we'll start out with the questions here, and you can let me know or let everybody that be watching that know a little bit about you. So, what got you interested and started in the paranormal?
So, pretty much where I grew up, a town out in Waterford called Quaker Hill, and it's had its own little history of weird stuff, witch trials and things like that. Matter of fact, on the newest episode of my podcast that's coming out, I'm actually going to be talking about there and a couple of experiences I had growing up. But always, whether it was around town or in my own house that I grew up, there was always something weird going on that always struck my interest. But honestly, growing up, I was a skeptic. I witnessed things, but never witnessed anything to make me actually 100% be like, oh my God, that's something. So I always walked around with that, could be real, could be not, I don't know. What really started it for me was, I want to say back when I was 17. I was out skateboarding with a bunch of my buddies, and we went back to one of my buddy's girlfriend's house. Nobody else was there. She was talking about, my house is haunted. There's like some crazy stuff that happens in the basement, and we're like, well, we got some time to kill. I got a video camera. So let's set a camera up downstairs. We'll go out and skate or whatever for a while, and we'll come back and check it. So I left it down in the basement. We went out, skated, and did whatever for like a good hour and a half, 2 hours. Came back, checked the camera, and legit, I want to say like 20 minutes after we had left, you hear the door start to jiggle. You hear it creak open. You hear something move. And it sounds like something was taking a deep breath into the camera. When I had actually took it back to my house and like kind of separated a lot of the audio, I found out that it was actually somebody going, hey. So right then and there, I was like, well, oh shit. So I took it back to them. I said, yo, this is what I caught. I was like, we got to do this again. Like this time we're going to try to capture something. So one of my buddies who actually ended up being like our medium for a while, he was there. And I kind of started directing things to him. And I was like, hey, if anything is here, make yourself known, do something, make a sound, move this piece of paper I had, whatever. Literally, he's wearing a button-down shirt. So you know how at the end of the button-down, you get that little tail thing going on. Something grabbed it and started pulling it out. And literally it did it until I said, stop it. And it just fucking stopped. And right then and there, I was like, that's insane. It happened in front of us. None of us had any explanation for it. And that's literally when my interest just freaking skyrocketed. And I just dove into it like no other. I started watching shows and doing research. Every type of book out there I grabbed and read and just pretty much dove into this. That's how much it interests me. In there.
All right, cool. So, do you happen to post any of that?
I don't have any of those videos. Those were from years and years ago. Those are sadly lost, but I do post whatever I've done recently. So I think the most recent thing I did was Halloween. I went and revisited a house that me and my team at the time had gone to religiously for a good couple of years. The energy that we had put into this place pretty much made it our practice place, so to say. So we had found a place where it had stuff going on. Being
Right.
young and still kind of new into this whole field, we'd go here every weekend. Like that was our thing. A lot of kids our age, they're going to parties and bars, and we're out in an abandoned house trying to talk to dead people. But that was what we did, and we did a lot there. And when I say we did a lot there, not only did we do investigating, but I also experimented with a lot of different things in there and kind of try to really get a grasp and understanding on things. And one of the things was extremely stupid, and we definitely paid a price for that. But it got me into knowing more about the demonology side of things, and for that, I'm actually
Ah.
kind of
Ah.
thankful. It was scary. It was
Okay.
scary as hell, but
I
it was
kind
worth
of get an idea of what you're talking about being stupid there.
it. Yeah.
See, I in the past have history with dating a woman that was Hispanic, and she was a brujo, a
Oh yeah.
witch,
Mm-hmm.
and she liked to play with the dark sides. And yeah, she she got me involved in having to actually battle demon.
Yeah,
So
and that's
it wasn't fun.
yeah, that's my advice I give to a lot of people. Like, look, there's nothing wrong with experimenting. Honestly, when it comes to this type of thing, you're almost like a scientist. You do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
research and you do a lot of different experiments and you try to get the best logical answer for what
Yep.
your outcome is. And like I said, yeah, I did some really stupid stuff. I don't ever recommend that to
and when you
anybody.
and when you mess up, then you tend to stay away from that stuff
Yeah, and when they
or
come
that part
knocking,
of it.
yeah, because when they come knocking, dude, they come knocking. And like this was
Yes,
not
they
an
do.
overnight thing. This was something that gradually built its way up until it had what it needed from us. It had the energy that we've been giving to
Mm-hmm.
it. It came after us, man, and it was intense. And even when I went back this year, I didn't get a lot of the crazy activity that we had in the past. But I'm gonna tell
Right.
you something right now. Whatever was in there from before was still in there, and it fucking knew I was there, dude. Because when I walked in, I could feel that sensation of it just being there. Like, wait a minute, I remember you. What are you doing back here?
Mm-hmm.
It was like that whole night I was there, dude. It was just on me the entire time. It was like, holy shit.
Right. No, I got you on that. I get that. So besides that place, is there any others that you've been to that you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, so I've done a bunch of different spots. Out in Waterford, we have an old asylum called Seaside. That was actually
Okay.
for tuberculosis patients at one point, and then until its closing, it housed mentally challenged kids. My buddy's dad, who grew up in Quaker Hill, actually remembers hearing there's this one kid that used to wear a helmet because he would just like hit his head on like everything. So
Mm-hmm.
outside there's this big metal railing, and my buddy's dad would tell us stories about how he remembers being out there with friends or whatever, and you're hearing this kid just hitting his head off the freaking metal, you're hearing the ding, ding, ding. Like it was pretty nuts. Um, no really crazy patient abuse or any of that happened there, but there's definitely been between the tuberculosis and everything else. There's been some death, and it's
Right.
definitely haunted by kids. No adults or anything like that, but definitely haunted by kids. We've also done Norwich State Hospital, which is also I'll be talking about that in the new episode of my podcast as well. That
Okay.
place is awesome. If you guys don't know about that, that's like probably one of the most haunted hospitals in the United States. It goes in there with Waverly Hills, Fairfield Hills, a whole bunch of other different ones out there. That one had a
Cool.
huge amount of patient abuse, and that was open until '96. Like I remember going on the
Really?
property with my dad because it was right on the cove. So I remember going on the property with my dad in the truck to go fishing, and you're riding through the property, and you'd see crazy people just outside because a lot of them, if they didn't get moved to Connecticut Valley Hospital, they were just free to roam. So a lot of them stayed because that's
Wow.
all they knew was that place. So that they turned into squatters and everything else, but they were there all the time. Like I remember fishing down there, and this freaking guy comes up, and he was loony like crazy, dude. And I remember the police came, and arrested him and took him away, but it was nuts. And I want to say right around 2001 is when they pretty much shut down anybody being able to go back there to go fit, like none of that. It was strictly like no trespassing. They had security, state police, and it was really difficult to get into that place without getting in trouble. So I actually had to wait until about 2010 when they started demolishing a lot of the buildings. Security backed
Okay.
away, and it was a lot easier to get into the property, man. And the property is huge. It's like just about 100 acres, if not more, of
Wow.
this property. It's massive. So that one was a good one. We did this place out in Baltic, Connecticut, which is called the Baltic Mill. That is, I want to say, probably number one on our most scariest places that we've ever been to. Even just thinking about the incident that had happened there, it just brings chills up my spine. I've seen a lot, witnessed a lot, but this right here was probably the scariest thing. More scarier than my buddy getting pulled down a set of stairs.
Wow.
We ended up encountering what I consider to be a hellhound. If you guys don't know what hellhounds are, they're pretty much like
Yep.
guardians of hell.
I
So
know exactly what a hellhound is.
yeah. So yeah, I always do daytime walkthroughs before we go to any place new. I want to know the lay of the land. I want to know the ins and outs and kind of like what we're gonna look for before I take anybody in there at night. Especially because it's an abandoned place. You know, I want to know where to go before I go in there, pretty much blind. So when we end up getting to the main part of the building, there's like a little section you can jump down that used to be like a little passageway to get to the car garage. This whole place caught fire and burned down. So there's still the cars that got trapped in the garage, still there. Nobody died, but there's been a lot of satanic rituals that happened there. There's actually, when we first went during the day, we found remains from a ritual where there was an animal sacrifice. So we found that there's writing all over the place. So we already knew going in that it was gonna be something pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the spot where you're gonna jump down in, and literally as I'm about to jump down, I end up hearing this sound that I've never heard before in my life. And I mean, I'm an outdoorsy guy, so I know all types of animal sounds. You know, especially
Mm-hmm.
being into the cryptozoology stuff, I like to know animals and tracks and all of that. I've never heard this sound before. Like, I've heard fisher cats. I know what they sound like. This was totally. I cannot describe the sound that I heard. And it was enough to stop me dead in my tracks and just look straight ahead of me, kind of going, what the hell is that? And as I'm looking, I end up seeing these two orange that look like reflectors, like those big orange reflectors that people have on the driveway. So
Yeah.
I pull my flashlight out and I start shining it, and I'm kind of like moving it around to see if I see the reflection. I see no reflection. But what I do see, and this is, I want to say it's a good maybe 20 feet from where I'm at, maybe 20, 30 feet from where I'm at. So I'm doing this, and there's no reflection, no nothing. And you can see in the dark, 'cause we're in the woods, you can see an even darker mass within the darkness that probably stood about chest high to me. And from there, you see the eyes close, and they move, and they come back up, and they open right back up at me. And then you see another set come over, open back up, and they're just looking at us, moving around. I'm going, holy shit, like, what is that? I'm getting everybody's attention. They're seeing it. So I'm like, all right, we're going to go to this section first, which is far away from there. We'll do what we got to do in there. And when we come out, hopefully, whatever the hell that is gone. We continue. So we go into the part with the car garage, do our investigation, come out to go into the main building. And the main building, you can walk the entire first floor, but any other floor, you can't go on. You can literally stand at the bottom, look up, and see through the ceiling from where the whole thing burnt up. So we're in the stairwell, and we go up to the top of the stairwell. We're just kind of hanging out, asking some questions or whatever. And all of a sudden, at the bottom of the stairwell, inside of the stairwell, there goes that sound again. And it echoed through the whole thing. And now we're sitting here going, oh, shit. There's only one way out. So that's wherever that is, right downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I always travel with, whatever, whether it be knife, gun, whatever. I always have something to keep safe, mainly because of animals or whatever else. So I pretty much just told everybody, I said, look, we all know where to go from here to get back to the car. I said, when I count to 3, I'm going to let off a couple of shots to try to scare whatever the hell that is away from here. I said, and then we're going to book it to the car. And literally that's what I did. I did 1, 2, 3, fired a couple of rounds off, and we just fucking took off. And the funny thing was there was nothing down there. But this noise that we heard and then what we saw earlier, that shit was there. And what I'm thinking it was all that demonic shit that people were doing. They opened something up. And then now
Yeah.
they have that's just roaming around.
Very, very much could have been a portal there.
Oh, yeah. So
somebody goofed up. You know, that's the funniest thing. You know, a lot of these people that deal with the dark magics and play with the dark magics, they're not understanding what's happening with it.
No.
Because if they make a mistake, they can open up a portal, and that portal will stay open.
Exactly.
Because it'll draw on the energies around it.
Exactly. And that's what happened at the house out in Salem. That's the one that's been like our pride and joy. We call that one Hell House. And mainly because of the shit that's gone down there. And I was actually introduced to that place by a buddy of mine. His name is Jerome. And he actually owns TRP, which is True Reality Paranormal. And he first introduced me to this place. And not only did he introduce me to that place, but he's the one who also got me into the whole demonology side of everything. Because he was into the, really into the demonology stuff when I first met him. So he was definitely like pretty much giving me the lessons and the rundown and kind of getting into it. And he's one of the ones who we started this whole little experiment in this house, and shit got crazy. But yeah, he's a good guy. But he's the one who introduced me to that place, and ever since then, man, that was our place to go forever. And I took people who were skeptics there, and I mean, I've had some kids who didn't believe, who are now believing by the end of the trip because of the activity we had going on in that place. But that's also because we put so much of our energy into that place. We went there all the time. We pretty much became a part of this place.
That can happen to a lot of places like that.
Oh yeah, and this place is crazy because we'd go there all the time, and there'd be times where we'd be heading there and getting ready to go into the house, and you're actually scared. Like you're almost like, maybe I don't want to go in there tonight. Maybe we should just go home and not do this tonight. And then you go in there, you start investigating, you get comfortable. But then the scariest part about that is when it's time to go. So now it's time to go. It's about 3:34 in the morning, and you don't want to leave. There's just something about it that makes you just want to stay. And it's not a clean, nice place.
It's not an ominous type of feeling.
It's not a really comfortable, place to be in. But it's weird because you sit there and you just want to be here. It's so weird. It's like this place, as you were there, just get its arms around you and try to just pull you in as much as it could. Like, it was insane. But that's why what happened to us in that house had happened to us in that house. We definitely did what we shouldn't have. We put our own energy in there and got attached, and definitely let something able to affect us. And that was the first time that's ever happened. And that was the last time it's ever happened. Ever since then, I did so much background research and studying, and I know how to keep everybody safe now. And honestly, anybody who goes with me on investigations, they love it because I keep everybody safe. I know when to pull out when need be. I go into that whole thing like, if I come in with 3 people, we're leaving with 3 people. That's just how it's going to be, and not only just because of the whole paranormal stuff, but like I said, a lot of the places that we go to, they're abandoned. Anything can happen. I'm always saying, use the buddy system. For another instance, all right, so that Jerome guy that I was telling you about, there's a place called Devil's Hop Yard near us. It's a big state forest. That right there, we end up doing an investigation in big thicket of woods called the Devil's Oven, and we were actually followed by a mountain lion. We had no idea until later on. It's like 7:00 in the morning. I just got back to my house at 6. Laid in bed, closed my eyes, my phone's going off at like 7. And it's Jerome. He's like, "Did you watch anything yet?" I'm going, "No." He's like, you gotta watch it. And I go, can it wait? He's like, no, come over. So I went over to his house and he shows us the video of us walking around and we're hearing howling and all that. We're thinking like, it's coyotes and all that.
Right.
And little did we know, we did not have to worry about that shit at all because in one of the frames, when he panned over, you see right in the brush line, fucking mountain lion, just stalking. It was literally waiting for one of us to be like, hey, I gotta go take a piss and go over here.
Yeah.
And that was it. You know what I mean?
You were in its territory.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And that's like, oh shit. So
Like,
there's things like that.
If I can just get one of them suckers alone, I got lunch.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So it's like, nope.
Mountain lions are kind of like grizzly bears. You cannot chase them away very easily.
No, hell no. They don't back down.
Grizzlies are extremely aggressive. So are mountain lions. I used to deal with all those when I lived in California. I'm a California transplant to Wisconsin. I worked at a lodge out there. One of my jobs on a Friday night was to chase the black bears and brown bears out of the encampment because we had what they call lower Kauai. It was old rustic cabins with tent type roofs on them. And I had to go around the whole encampment and make sure people didn't leave food items or ice chests or anything out on the decks.
Yep.
And made sure they had locked them up inside. And then if I ran across any bears, I had to chase the bears out of the encampment.
Jeez.
So, but brown bears and black bears, you make a little noise, they take off running. Unless it's a mother bear with cubs, and then you're kind of boned at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see where you guys might have freaked out a little bit after seeing that video because mountain lions are. And we had those up there too. We had mountain lions up there too that you had to be wary of.
If you go far enough north, you'll find them here too.
Yeah, I mean we do have them here in Wisconsin.
Just call them cougars.
Oh yeah, you guys got a lot of shit up there.
Yep, they call them cougars.
All right, I saw something interesting. I'm going to get to this since we're talking, wildlife and cryptids.
Yep.
I saw this. Okay, I can't really enlarge it, but I can enlarge the picture. But you were talking about how the Mothman's always interested you.
Yes.
And then you brought up this owl.
Yep. So this is
that's got the orange glowing eyes too.
Right.
Exactly.
Just wait. He's got a very good point of view on this.
So my point of view is this was the main big description of the Mothman is how it looks and its eyes. So now if you ever see the pictures of the Mothman, there is no good descriptive picture of it. Unlike, Bigfoot, the Dogman, all those things have descriptive pictures. The Mothman is merely seems as the outline. So now if you look at what an owl looks like perched, it looks a lot like how the Mothman would look. It's got the glowing red eyes. The only difference is the size. Mothman is huge, as where these owls are, fairly small. I think that owl is only about yay big, in reality, as to where the Mothman probably towers over me, but very, very close in description. So my whole thing is, could this possibly be a giant owl? We don't know. I know at nighttime, if you see that, your headlights illuminated. You're gonna your eyes are gonna automatically focus on that red, which is then gonna turn the rest of that kind of dark, and you're not gonna be able to really, determine what you're seeing because your eyes are focusing on the main thing, are those eyes.
And if you're alone in the car, your mind's gonna play tricks on you.
Oh, exactly, dude. And that's the one thing I say, like a lot of people, same with the investigating, like your mind is so strong. Like the one thing I hate, I try not to do too much research before I go into a place, especially for my first time. Like if it's a place that's literally known to be haunted, then I'll definitely try to go in there with knowing everything. But if it's like a place where people I've heard stories, I don't want to know anything about it. I'm gonna go in there completely thinking, this person's full of shit. I'm just gonna go into this place. I'm gonna walk around for a few hours, talking to myself, and that's gonna be it. And I love that because then when I actually go back home, and do capture something, I go, oh shit, okay. Now I dive into the research. And now I'm going off of what I experienced, what other people experience, and I'm going to put it into that research and be like, oh shit, that's actually adding up to the
Mm-hmm.
history of this place. So that's always how I do it. But I tell people, your brain, if you go into some place thinking, oh my God, this place is haunted, your brain, dude, it's going to start running wild. And you got to learn to control that because your brain will definitely make you see things that are not there.
I think
True.
I think part of being a skeptic and always needing to know the answers, makes it easy for me to do that.
Yep.
I mean, I do the research first because I like the history of a lot of the places.
And that's
Oh,
true what
exactly.
Tom just said.
You
I love
know,
the history. That's probably the one best thing
The
about
human
this.
brain doesn't want to be wrong.
you
But
know,
see, here's another animal that could fall
we
into the
we
description too.
took right. Well, we took that just a second here. We took that drive down Bray Road. You know, because there's like all these stories about beasts
The
of Bray
Beast of Grey Road. Yep.
right? And we took a drive down there that one night, real late at night, stormy weather and everything. So we stayed in the car, but we filmed it. And you could easily see how the mind can play tricks on somebody there.
Oh yeah.
It's dark, no lights, no street lights. It's dark. Somebody saw a wolf or a coyote or something eating roadkill. Yeah,
Or
definitely.
dog.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, you got to think about it too. So it's late at night, right? You're driving down the road. Maybe there's a wolf. All right. Maybe that wolf was chasing something up to a tree, and now it's kind of up on the tree, trying to look at whatever's up there. And you driving by, and all you see is a giant dog that looks like it's standing up. So now your brain's going, "Oh
True.
my god, what is
right?
that?" In reality, it was a wolf that was just on the tree trying to, get whatever, but you
Right.
don't know.
But you only had that vision for a split second, so therefore if you tried to
Exactly.
go back and look at it again, the
And
the
you
possibility of you passing it in your car scared it away.
Right.
exactly, and then
But
your brain's gonna
going
pull all that.
but going back to your Mothman thing too, you ever hear of a harpies eagle?
Oh yeah. Those things are
And
huge.
have you ever seen how big those are?
Yeah, massive,
They're
massive.
the size of a human actually,
Yeah, so that's a big. That's a
and they
very
are
very big
very
bird.
freaky looking, just in general.
Yeah, I remember
So
actually looking up
if
a
you
picture
if
of
you
them, and
actually
they're
seen something like that, I'm not exactly sure where they're located, but I believe they are in the United States.
I
But
think
I
they
mean,
are,
if you've seen something like that, I mean, just
especially
think of
at night.
seeing that
Oh
at
yeah.
night.
Oh dude,
Your
I know
brain
for
would
me,
go nuts trying to
I'd freak
figure
out
out
my
what
damn
that
self.
is.
Of course. Like that same thing, man. I mean, if I saw that, I don't scare easy. But I'm telling you right now, if I saw that, yeah, at night in the woods, yeah, oh yeah, I'm gonna be scared because it's not normal. And as humans are, we're used to being the bigger species.
We're
So
used to
for
being the top of the food chain.
exactly,
That's the
so to
whole
see
thing.
that,
We are used to being the dominant species on this planet. The
exactly.
only problem is whenever something like that happens, it freaks everybody out.
Yep.
I think this one's young though. But here,
You looked it up. Yeah, harpies eagle. That's a young one.
Yep. They got they got a freaking freakier one, man, of a dude sitting next to it on a
Yep,
perch.
and it's a huge bird. It's one of the biggest eagles, one of the biggest birds
Yeah, I think it goes
in the
golden
world.
eagle, and I think it goes to the harp bay.
But yeah, they're beautiful. They are very beautiful bird.
Yeah.
very
But
dangerous
that
predator too.
a very gorgeous predator, yes. But the thing is, having one of those to see one of those, I think it'd scare the living daylights out of anybody.
Oh yeah.
Especially that right there.
Right there, yeah, that right
That
there.
one right there.
Scariest pictures of that animal.
That one would really mess you up. Seeing that at night, especially if the eyes glowed, man.
Yeah, your headlights hit it just right.
So you
But
guys, so
So you're interested not just into the regular paranormal stuff. Then you said
Nope.
you got an
Uh,
interest in demonology because you studied it,
yep.
and then you're into the cryptids. What about UFOs?
Oh yeah, dude, my brain does not stop there, man. Anything I look at it, anything is possible, especially anything that's got history.
That's
So now
what
you look at certain cryptids that have been known to be around since colonial times, Native American times. You've got
Hmm.
UFOs and aliens that are dating back to the pyramids, fucking Greeks and Romans. Like, dude, this shit didn't just
No, it
get
didn't just
made up.
appear.
Something
Yeah.
happened for this to get written down the way it did. You
Yeah,
know what
well,
I
I've
mean?
I've said it. I've said it many a times, and some people actually agree with me. Some people want to argue with me about it. But most generally, your myths and legends are
Run, right?
based in some form of truth.
Exactly.
There is
Exactly.
some form of truth. I didn't say it's a full truth.
No.
It's a form of truth, and
Yep.
over the time, yes, it becomes a myth or a legend because it
Exactly.
gets changed. But there's still that basis of the truth there.
Exactly. Something happened for that to be able to
Hmm.
come to where it is today. So like another big thing, I always get into arguments with people, like with the whole paranormal stuff and aliens. The one thing is, I get certain people who go to church and they go, "Oh, well, no, no, no. That means God's not real." I'm like, "Well, how do you figure that?" They're like, "Well, He made us in our image, so why would there be other beings?" I'm going, "That's where I'm going to pause that for a second. Yeah, He made us in His image, but you talking about an Almighty Creator. You think He just made one race of people and then stopped? No way, dude. He's up there making a whole bunch of shit. He's making other worlds and
Well,
other planets."
here's the thing on that though. How do we know that
There's
God is the God? How do we know that what made us isn't an advanced being
Exactly.
of a scientific nature who figured out how to split an atom and take a strand of DNA and string it with something else?
Yep. And so like that brings me also into like the whole like Romans and all that stuff where they depict multiple gods that have come down. You know what I mean? So you think of multiple gods, you can lump that in with the fact that there's archangels that are pretty much similar in the same aspect. And then you can also lump that in with all those could have possibly been extraterrestrial life. Those other gods that they worshipped could have been extraterrestrials. Those archangels that people have said have come down and done things, so it could have been
The Nephilim,
extraterrestrials. Like all that, all of it
right? The
can end up
Nephilim,
being the same.
the Nephilim, who are supposed to be the children of man and
An
or of
angel.
women and angels.
Yep.
What's to say that the Nephilim are not the children of an alien species and the
Exactly.
Earthling women?
Exactly. The world we live in, and that's the one reason why I've always gotten into this, and it's not only for my own research and to get my own understanding, but I also hope that I could take some people who are so close-minded and just get them to just, hey man, you got to open that shit up, dude, because our
Yeah,
world is
no,
not
I agree.
our world is not just black and white. There is so much more that goes on around us that we tend to just block off. And honestly, society has a lot to do with that. Our own government,
Hmm.
between TV and all that stuff, it does a lot to try to keep your brain locked in to
Right.
where it needs to
Well,
be. They don't
it's
like
like
people
I
to expand.
it's like I have said several times, and when the discussion of the possibility of life elsewhere comes up like this, I've always said for us as a alleged intelligent species, the way that we are portraying ourselves to be, for us to be closed-minded enough to believe that we are the only intelligent species in a galaxy that's inside of a universe that's filled with millions of galaxies
Yeah,
or billions of galaxies, and our own galaxy has billions of stars, and the possibility of every one of those stars having at least one planet that rotates around it
yeah,
is very high and probable.
exactly.
For us to believe that nothing else has evolved or emerged or came about
Yeah.
in that huge of a setup, we are the most naive species ever,
Oh, hands down, that's
if
how I
that's
always look at
true.
it. That's how
because
that's
we in the grand scheme of all of that, this planet is like a grain of sand on a beach.
oh yes. Oh
Well,
yeah.
we too smart if we keep thinking that way, because there's got to be a lot more intelligent life form out there to produce some of what we've actually seen. When it comes to UFO crashes and some of the
Hmm.
stuff that you've seen on some of those more documentary type films or
Hmm.
whatever.
Yep.
Not the made for TV for ratings, type stuff, but you know,
Exactly.
So, have
so,
you got any UFO stories?
I have
you,
one. And this it's not really a big one. But this is one that happened to me once again. Like I said, where I lived growing up, just a lot of weird shit happened, man. Like there is weird animal things that we thought we saw at night, and there's been weird apparitions that we've seen at night, like a lot of weird shit. And I'll
Hmm.
never forget, it was, oh God, I want to say 1998, almost 1999. There's a speed bowl where they do like the car races and whatnot in
Yeah.
our town. So me and my dad, my mom at the time, we were all out there watching the races. Came back home at night, and when we were actually walking into the house, my dad was like, "Oh, what's that?" And I looked up and I'm like, "Oh, it's an airplane." He's like, "No, no, no." He's like, "There's no sound and there's no lights on it." So we're sitting in our backyard watching this thing, and all of a sudden we see it start coming over the house, and it was just like this little dome-shaped thing that was just literally silently just going over. And then as it went over, you saw on the bottom of it had some, a little bit of light indicators. But that was it. There's no wings, and we could see enough to make out the shape of it. There were no
Hmm.
wings. You heard nothing. It was just this object that
and
was
during
just moving.
that time, drones.
And it was the weirdest thing in the world. This is way before drones and all that stuff were
So
out. At least,
Hmm.
at least ones that we could own. You know what
right,
I mean? So
not for the
Right.
public,
it was so weird.
and you didn't have anything that was really radio controlled back then that really could fly that good back then.
No, not that high up either. Because
Technology's
it was
got a
none.
lot better. I mean, you can go to the store and buy all kinds of cool stuff for little nothing that'll
Oh yeah.
fly nowadays, but not back in 1998.
Yep. So
Uh,
you can look up videos on my page here.
I can look up all kinds of things.
All right. So I got a video. I want to show you guys the partial possession that happened to my buddy at that Hell House back in 2010.
But yeah, sorry, the
That's right.
interrupter came in and interrupted me. She just got home back from taking her mom to the store. But that also ties in, with UFOs. Also ties into some of the cryptids too,
Oh,
because
exactly.
how do we know that Bigfoot isn't some sort of cryptid,
Hmm.
or that the Mothman, if it is real, isn't some sort of cryptid,
Older anything
Exactly.
here.
So like
Let's
I
or
saw somebody put,
alien or something like that.
yeah, I saw somebody put a post on one of the pages that I follow, and they're like, "What if cryptids were created by aliens?" So say Dogman. What if they took a human, took a wolf, merged it, made Dogman, dropped it back off? Like same thing with Bigfoot and everything else. All right, so if you go, all right, see the one that's 4 minutes and 44. So hit that one. The
Right there,
audio is
very
shit in the
first one.
beginning. Yep.
Did you
So this is
click
when
the
we were gonna
audio,
do our
Joe?
promo video. Yeah, the first intro is a little shitty, but it gets better. Investigators help me find proof of the unknown. Joining me my three friends, Jeff, Raul, and our equipment tech Ethan, we ventured out on some of the world's most haunted and bizarre places. Armed only with cameras and flashlights and a few other equipment, we stay locked down in our environment all night, from dusk till dawn. This is our stories. This is Project Wolf Paranormal. God, I'm so young.
How long ago was this?
2010.
Wow.
Yep.
That was 11 years ago.
Yep.
Halloween.
Oh, Halloween. I see it.
Yeah, it was the night before going into.
House is one effed up place to be. That is not a lie. So was that Raul being possessed? Yeah, that is the good form. It's not, like the form that everybody sees on TV. That's a little bit more of a heavier form. Like most of the time, people hear possessed, they're thinking like exorcism, Emily Rose, the Exorcist. It can go down like that. In this case, it didn't. That's more of a partial possession, what we just saw. But whatever it was, did have the power to come in contact with his body, get in his body, and cause him to do what he was doing. What he was saying was not him. What he was acting was not him. I hit him just for the leg. Holy fuck. Shit, you're fucking gone, buddy. No. I don't say it. You're gone, bitch. You're gone. Oh my god, you're a strong little son of a bitch. Not strong enough. Come on. Come on. Breathe. It's not gone. It's not gone. Come on, quit fucking with my life. Come on. John, you gotta hold these. Give me it. Calm down so he doesn't hit you.
This happened in the Hell House, the one you were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah. So this was when he got pulled down the stairs, pulled him up, and at first couldn't even get him up. Like literally, I'll tell you this whole story after this. This whole thing still freaks me the hell out watching it.
You wanna go downstairs?
Joe, pause it.
What the
Thank you. That way I can hear what he's saying.
Yeah. So this is exactly what I'm talking about what can happen when you dabble in the shit you shouldn't be dabbling in. We started
I already know.
We started getting a lot of demonic activity in this place, and we kept running with it instead of preventing it from happening. So this video right here is from the night before Halloween going into Halloween. So Devil's Night into Halloween, which is the biggest time for paranormal activity to happen. We had done a certain ritual in this house and had added to it to amplify everything. When we first were doing it, the kid you see in the video, he weighs about 140 soaking wet. And our other buddy who was with me at the time, he's about 6'1", weighed a good, 2 something, stocky kid. And when we were in the basement, the kid who got possessed, he ended up blacking out and just fucking smacking the floor. I mean, the floor, it's disgusting, dirty floor. And my buddy just picked him up one arm, like, yo, dude, you good? Brushed him off. This happened 3 times. When he got pulled down the stairs, the same kid who you saw grabbing him with one arm had him double underhooks trying to pull him up the stairs and was beat red. He couldn't get him off the stairs. I had his other leg trying to get him up the stairs. He wouldn't get up off the stairs.
Wow.
Whatever pulled him, like you could see that.
Whatever pulled him was holding him down, or
whatever pulled him, let go. We pulled him up, and that shit jumped right into him, and that's when he started freaking out like that. And I jumped onto his chest and pretty much held his arms down, and my buddy was holding the rosaries on his head. And then I end up having to just take over, and I'm just holding them, and I'm reciting the Lord's Prayer, and pretty much just doing what I was taught to do in this type of situation. And a lot of that too is it's you kind of got to put your own self into it, and almost like you're putting yourself at risk, because when I do it, I open up a part of myself to be able to infiltrate a lot better you know, versus than just someone trying to do something. It takes a lot more than just reciting some words. You actually have to have this type of energy with you to do that. So I managed to do that, and literally after a few minutes of him doing that, you hear it just leave from his body, dude. And his whole body, like, just, I mean, limp. Like he was done, and
He
like
was out. He was
we,
exhausted.
oh yeah, we moved him, you know, out of the place, dude. And I remember just looking at everybody, going, "Yo, is everybody okay?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yo, did you get that?" And the guy holding the camera was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Cool. We're packing this shit up, and we're leaving." Like, because I'm not having anything that had like, holy shit, like even just watching that again, like after all these years,
Yeah,
oh,
I think
like holy
I think
shit.
what we need to
You
do
could
with
probably
this.
close it. You could probably close that, Joe.
Well, that's just before I do. I, I sat here. I got an idea. You know, my brain's constantly got those wheels a turning. You know,
Use
so
part use
if
use part of this as the
if
bonus.
it, though, if you people want to see the rest of this, make sure you go and look up Project Wolf Paranormal on Facebook. Make sure you like him, follow, you know, share his posts, watch his other videos. You won't regret it. You know, they're
Nope.
pretty cool. I've watched some of them already.
Cool.
That way,
So like,
it leaves them wanting more, and they'll have to go to his page to watch the rest of it now. See,
That's fine.
there's
That's
so
always a
fine.
like
It works
catch.
that way.
the one thing that I've always told people too, it's like I've run into the one I've always run into the issue. Like when I first started off, and I said I was, you know, doing the paranormal stuff, everybody be like, "Oh, so you're like taps," and I'd be like, "No,
No.
no, I'm not." I'm like, "Oh, you're like the ghost hunter guys, right?" No, no, I'm like, "No, don't ever compare me to them." I said I'm not, and like I've told people before, I'm a different breed of investigator. Um, I'm not. I've had people literally call up those TV style investigators who honestly wouldn't know a paranormal incident if it bit them in the ass. These guys are out, you know, they believe all shit. I tell people, like, look, that's not me. Like, I
No.
tell people, yep. I tell
No,
people,
I
this, you know?
no, I was just gonna say with taps, out of all of them out there that have already came and gone, I believe taps was the most honest ones.
I believe them in the beginning. The one thing I started hating with them is when they'd bring in giant groups of people to investigate.
Exactly. No, I agree with that. I started losing interest in watching them whenever they started bringing the outside people in and all the
Yeah,
big groups and
it really
everything else
started ruining the whole
because it it
credibility.
it became too
See,
much.
I have
It
a hard
became too
time
much
watching those
of
shows.
well when they started
They're
doing
always
that
finding stuff.
it
Yeah,
when they started doing that that's when it became too much of their staging
yeah.
or their they're not
Give me
they're
people
not
like
being
Josh
honest
Gates,
anymore.
you know, where it's at least you learn more about the
And
history of the
I'm sorry, I'm
locations and
sorry I
places that
interrupted
he
you, John.
goes to visit.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So can you continue, or are you like Joe and lose your train of thought?
No, I'm good. So no, like what I try to tell people is, you know, I'm different. You know, I'm not these Hollywood people. Like I've gone to countless people who have said, you know, your house is haunted, this and that, and I've gone in there, and after really going through things, I tell them, like, look, no, there's nothing going on here. You're actually what's going on is very logical. It's not paranormal at all. You know, I
Hmm.
will never sit there and say something is haunted when it isn't. You know, and like
the house
I
is
remember
Right.
when I first started kind of getting back into social media and like putting things out there, you learn what groups to join, what groups not to join. So like there's pictures I had thrown
oh
up
yeah,
and I had people going, oh, they're fucking fake or oh, they're, you know, that's just light flare. And I'm going, no, it's not. And they go, oh yeah, it is. And they'd show me a picture of theirs and it'd be this like little tiny random squiggle thing. And I'm going, that's not what I got at all. And they go, yeah, it is. I go, no. And I've taken my pictures, like the ones that I have a lot of with all those crazy lights.
Hmm.
Those are small tea light candles. And I have pictures of what those look like normal. When I started getting those pictures is when the demonic activity really started kicking up in that place, which is after we did the rituals and all that shit. I took the camera, the pictures still on the camera, to a college professor in photography. He analyzed the camera. He analyzed the photos. He called me back 3 days after, and literally was like, I don't understand how these happened. He's like, your camera's fine. You're on a perfect setting. He's like, you have countless pictures in here that are normal. He's like, but then you get this. He's like, and then you get these when you're not even in a room with any lights at all. It's just the flash that's going off. But you're getting all this crazy shit. You know what I mean? And I've taken this camera to other places. Never had it happen. But that Hell House place, that shit right there. The only other place that I've had something similar was Devil's Hop Yard, and Fort Mansfield was another one, which is out in Rhode Island. And that one, you're 2 miles down a beach, pretty much in the ocean. There's no lights, and then you're in a bunker underground, so it's dark. There's no light source, and there'd be those lights. And same thing, people like, oh, it's this and that. And like, there's no lights. And it's like, well, you got a flash. It's like, look, I understand how cameras work. I'm not, tech savvy, but I understand how certain things work.
Right.
And also logically thinking about it, dude, if there was something wrong, it's going to happen more than just this time. And if I have thousands of other pictures that are just normal pictures, but when I come to this one place where I know there's activity in, and all this other shit, you know what I mean? And I hate it. I've had the people sit there and tell me, shit ain't true. And I'm going, look, man, your opinion doesn't matter to me because you're just somebody,
right?
It's an average person, you know what I mean? Like, and I get it. But I take every single step needed before I ever say something is haunted.
So is this a digital camera you use?
Yep, it was a digital camera I was using at the time.
Okay, so it's all digital.
I use digital and I use film.
Okay.
I love film just because it's definitely more credible, so to say, and especially because I have that hard copy now to show people.
Okay.
But digital, I mean, dude, everybody uses digital all the time.
But you know that all digital prints have a fingerprint. Once you take them, once you snap them, whether it's with a cell phone or a digital camera or a video camera, if it's digital, it has that fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's ever altered, it shows the alteration.
See?
No, see.
So, and all mine are legit, straight from camera to the freaking computer.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that's the way it should be. They're like, that's light painting, and don't tell me you don't know how to do that. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
He's like us. He tries to debunk his stuff before he even makes a conclusion.
Exactly. See, that's what we do when we go out. When we wind up going out and do stuff, we try to debunk our own stuff. If we feel we caught something, we try to debunk it.
We never say we caught anything anyways. We let everybody else decide.
Right.
We just put it out there. Say, you take a look. This is the place. This is the history. You want to find more? This is the name of the place. Look it up on the internet. You can find it.
Well, one of the
we have a similar place. So I was going to say something. I wasn't finished.
Well,
we had a similar place because he was talking about the portal. All right. We got a similar place here. We haven't checked it out yet, but I want to check it out. It's got a lot of conflicting stories, but the true story is it only burned down once. Nobody died in the fires. However, since then and over the years after it, whatever year it was that it ceased to exist, and it's kind of now just a rumble. There's been kind of, what do you call it, ritual type activity around there, pentagrams drawn up, and all this kind of witchcraft type stuff going on. Rumors been somebody opened up a portal there, so the place got dubbed Hotel Hell. And it's here in Wisconsin. It's called what was it? Marble Caves Hotel is the original name of it. It's in Manitowoc County. It's in Manitowoc County. Yeah.
I've never heard of that place.
Yeah, that's up north.
Yeah. That's one of
So,
those places we want to go to one of these days.
but the whole thing is what I was gonna tell you about the debunking stuff. One of the videos that I always go back to is one of our first ones that we did out at the cemetery on Speedway Road. We were out there on on a I think it was a Saturday, and it was I think it was late summer, early fall, and the mosquitoes were still out.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't bring spray, and we were out there, and Joe thought he seen something, so I was filming and I was holding the camera, and it was really shaky video and everything because I was fighting off mosquitoes trying to trying to
Yep.
do this. But it did look in the video like we possibly caught something on video.
Hmm.
But I wasn't ready to say that it was anything we caught. I wanted to make sure. So we
Yep.
went back out the following day around the exact same time. This time I got the tripod out and I put the camera on the tripod.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some walking around and stuff in front of the camera. And then his wife took their other camera and got a side view of the same area. And it turned out the way I seen it, and I believe Joe said this, seen it the same way. Turned out that it was a play on how the sun was coming through the trees and making the shadows.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I
And
mean, there's
I like to debunk my own stuff if I can.
exactly, and that's how I look at it too, man. I always try to debunk everything, but that's also like why I do a daytime walkthrough. Like I try to
Hmm.
literally pinpoint everything and anything. When I do recordings, like when I go out on investigation, if I leave a recorder, anybody we say, all right, it's so and so at such a time, putting the recorder in such and such room, about to
Hmm.
head to wherever, and then we do that, and then when we come back up, we announce it. So and so this time, back in this room, grabbing the
Right.
recorder, so that way we just know, you know what I mean? And like I said, I've
Right.
had it to where we know I've heard it, and I've heard us go away, and then I'm sitting there for 30 minutes listening to silence on a recorder, and then all of a sudden you'll hear something, and it's like, oh shit, rewind that back. Okay, I heard this at that time. Go into my video camera now. Watch that footage. Okay, we were, over here at this time. Did we make a sound that maybe that could have picked up on? Okay, no, we did not. And then that's kind of just how I keep going through everything.
Yep.
It's literally like that's what I try to tell people. It's like reviewing the footage
It's a
Yep.
is
lot
the
of work.
most work because it's a
It is.
constant
It is a lot of work.
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You spend 3 hours one day doing something. You go back the next day and spend an additional 3 hours reviewing the same shit, like until you can just really
Yep.
know what it is. You
Yeah.
have legit, like, no, all right, I caught something here.
Hmm.
There's no other way to explain it. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's like our footage that we got from the Halloween show that we did this last year. I had the voice recorder with me. I
Yeah,
walked
that's
around
still
with
got to
it.
be edited together.
Yeah, I know we still got to edit that. But we've got video from my camera, which was stationary, sitting in the upstairs hall or dance studio, and video from his camera that my daughter was using, walking around with me and him.
Mm.
And I have matched up on my camera's video, on his camera's video, and on the audio. I have matched up the exact same thing happening at the exact moment.
Yep. Yep.
So whatever happened, whatever it was, actually got on those. It was
Well,
on
that
the
was
audio.
just a strange place all in and of itself. I mean, that whole that whole town has got me baffled to this day still. I mean,
We're
it's
gonna
one of
find
these
something
things
out.
where I went, and I'm pretty good. I got a background in doing investigating. Okay. And we started out investigating this town because a friend of ours asked us to investigate his home for him. So we said, okay, sure, why not? So we went out there, but before we did, I tried to do, and I couldn't find a whole hell of a lot. And what I did find was a little baffling because some of it didn't make sense. Like there was a fire, but there's not much records of the fire.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, And the town at one time when this fire happened, the town didn't have a fire department. And then the next thing you know, all of a sudden it's got a fire department, but there's no record of the fire department being formed, no official records of it anywhere. So there's like a lot of unanswered questions about this.
Yep.
But then that's the whole town in and of itself. And then you've got this mill, which is the arts mall that he was talking about on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
That place was kind of strange. We had, I couldn't find any history except that it was a flour mill at one time, and it sits next to the Milwaukee River.
Yeah,
Town called Grafton.
Grafton is haunted big. There's a lot of old structures there, a lot of history there that it's hard to find out about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
that's what I say. And Grafton is one of these
logging
mystery
town.
towns that's got me baffled. But anyway, we're in this mill, or the arts mall now. It's what it was, but the place dates back to the 1800s. And Tom and I were actually walking back outside after everybody was going up from the first floor to the third floor. We were going outside to have a smoke, and all the lights were off. Okay, in the hallway we were walking down, and there was 3 lights. They were all connected to the same switch. They would all come on at the same time if you turned on the switch, but they were all off. We got to the middle light that was on the wall to our right, to our right,
Mm-hmm.
and the light that single bulb flickered at us.
Really?
Like, damn it! Where was a camera or a body cam when that happened? But at least I wasn't alone because Tom was with me.
Yeah.
And it's like, did that just happen? We tried to recreate it by tapping on
Flipping
the wall,
switches, tapping on the
flipping
wall.
switches, and seeing if we could just get that one light to
No, we
flicker.
couldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Couldn't do it. So we left it unexplained because we have no clue why it happened. But we don't have any proof that it happened either, except that Tom knows and I know because we were both there.
Exactly.
Yeah, at least I wasn't alone when that one happened.
That's like so it was last year, 2019. A buddy of mine, there's a old book barn it's called the Book Barn, but it's a bookstore. It sells a bunch of books. It's got the inside, outside part, but
Mm-hmm.
it used to be the original road of East Lyme. That's where I live now, and there's an accident that happened there. A bunch of other crazy shit with the whole stories, but now there's a bookstore there. So my buddy's family owns it, so he was like, "Hey, dude, there's always shit going on. Like, we gotta do an investigation." So I'm like, "All right." So we did a little investigation there. Honestly, the whole night was pretty uneventful. I didn't really catch anything on pictures. I caught no EVPs. We use a spirit box, but I don't really believe in those that much. Anything that is programmed to spit words out, I don't find that credible. But what really did happen, and this was the first for me, was I, with my own eyes, witnessed an apparition. And that's something I've always wanted to happen. And when it happened, I wasn't prepared for it because it happened so quick. So literally, we go into the part where they have all the haunted books. Go figure. So we're in there, and I'm kind of setting up a camera. I'm trying to find the light switch, and my buddy's behind me with the camera, and I'm like, "Where's the light switch?" He's like, "It's on the wall." So the other kid who was with us was next to me. As I look over to the switch, he sees it too. He flicks it. Right when he flicks it, I literally see, out of the corner of my eye, a girl in almost colonial type clothing, but a little more, not so old colonial, but a little more towards the end of the colonial era, so to say, type clothing.
Yeah.
Standing there with enough time for my eyes to look at it, for my brain to register it, for me to jump back and go, "Holy shit." And that was it. But in reality, it happened like that.
Oh yeah.
It happened so quick, but slow enough for my brain to register all that shit. And my buddy's looking at me like, "What?" And the kid who was next to me looking at me like, "What?" And I'm going, "Dude, literally nobody fucking just saw that shit." And they're like, "No." They're like, "What do you see?" I was like, "Dude, the minute you turn that light on, the fucking little girl, right there." And like I said, I've seen the weird shit that maybe is there, maybe not. But this was legit, like, made me go, oh, fuck, that's something. Freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else saw anything. But that was probably the one thing where I was like, inside, I was probably jumping like a little girl going like, yay, I finally freaking saw something. Like, holy shit. But also, like, on the outside, I'm going, fuck, I wish you guys saw that. And I wish that camera
Yeah.
was recording. Like,
Yep.
Well, yeah, so it
Yeah,
was cool.
that
Shit like
happens
that
more
happens.
times than it happens more times than you think. So.
Exactly.
All right, well, we're getting close to needing to end this little session, and so you were earlier talking about a podcast you do. You want to plug that?
Yes, so it's Project Wolf Files. It's found on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasting. And pretty much what I do is I tell stories and tales of haunted places throughout New England. And that ranges from Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, you name it. And it dives into aliens, cryptozoology, paranormal stuff. So I've only got 4 episodes out right now, but so far they've been doing really good. And I've got a shit ton more planned. So
are these live episodes you're doing, or is they
nope,
recorded,
I
pre-recorded?
pre-record them, and then once I'm done, I pretty much submit them in, and they're good to go. So
Okay. And other than your Facebook, you want to plug your YouTube?
you can look at the YouTube. It's Project Wolf 89666. So go ahead and find it. I only have one video there. It's a little music video that we had thrown together, but it's the same one that's actually on my Facebook page. But definitely.
So where did Joe find those? Where'd Joe find those videos then?
Those are on Facebook.
Those are on the Facebook page?
Those are all on my Facebook, yep. I'm in the process trying to get the whole YouTube thing going. Once I start getting out and doing more of the investigations, that's when I definitely want to put more of those on there. So until then, I'm kind of just still putting that off to the side. But Facebook is definitely where all my shit's going to be at. Even before YouTube, it's just where everything's going to be put at for now. So.
All right, cool. And all right, so I'll thank you for joining us this evening, and stick around for a few minutes after.
Yeah, we'll do, man.
We'll
Thank
have
you
a
guys for
little
having me
backstage talk. And thanks to everyone who did watch us tonight, and everyone who's going to be watching us. And remember, Paraflix is going to launch. They are going to launch on March 21st. There, I said it right. They finally decided to have a launch date. It's on March 21st of this year.
Nice.
They are going to be the paranormal of Netflix. They're the paranormal of Netflix. They are going to have everything ranging from your hauntings and spirits all the way through the cryptids and into the cryptozoology and all the way into the Bigfoots and the aliens and abductions and stuff like that. So I believe it's going to be a really cool little setup, and I believe it's going to probably go crazy out there. So
remember, it's the only way you can see the bonus footage.
Yes, that's the only way you're going to see any bonus footage from us, unfortunately. But we do want to thank everyone who does watch us on Facebook and YouTube, because we try to satisfy the whole crew. All right, Joe, anything?
No, just stay safe and remember, anything's possible.
Yep, stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, John.
No problem.